My name's Colleen, and I'm an educator at the St. Louis Art Museum. Welcome to a Wednesday. Today, we're going to be talking about the future. What comes to mind when you think about the future? Do you think about what you'll be like when you grow up? Or maybe you think about what will happen next year or next month? Or maybe you just think about what will happen later today. We'll explore some of those ideas together. We'll start by reading a story together, then we'll be looking at some art from the museum's collection, and we'll end by making our own art together. Feel free to pause the video at any time if you'd like to get a closer look, if you'd like to talk about something with the people that you're with, or if you need to gather some art supplies. Are you ready? Let's get started. Today, we're going to be reading a story called The Magical Yet. If you've joined me for Wee Wednesday before, you may know that when I read a new book, I like to take a look at the cover to see if I can find out some things about the story before I read. Let's take a look at this cover together. What do you notice? I see a few different clues on this cover. I see a child here. Looks like they have a helmet on. And maybe they're riding a bike or a scooter or something like that. And they look pretty happy. They have a smile on their face. And I see this creature that's sitting on top of their head. So I'm wondering who that might be. What do you think the story might be about based on what we can see? Let's find out. The Magical Yet, with words by Angela DiTerlizzi and art by Lorena Alvarez. There are days when your dreams haven't come true, or you're upset by the things you can't do. If you've lost or failed or cried just a bit, you're tired of waiting, ready to quit. Let's take a look at this picture. What's happened here? Like that shiny new bike you couldn't ride, and it didn't matter how hard you tried. You couldn't pedal and you couldn't steer, and you couldn't get that bike into gear. Then when you thought you were on the right track, you popped a wheelie and fell on your back. And now you won't ride. No way, not never. No riding for you, you'll walk forever. Has that ever happened to you? Where you were trying to learn something new and it just wasn't working out? How did that make you feel? Don't give up now. There's a major game changer, a most amazing thought rearranger, someone to show you how good you can get. Now introducing drum roll, please. The Magical Yet. What do you notice about the Magical Yet? Let's see what else we can find out about this interesting creature. With this Yet's magic, you can begin to see that you're going beyond where you've been. There are so many things that you've learned to do when you didn't know the Yet was with you. Like when you babbled before you could talk, or how you crawled before you could walk. Yet's a dreamer, a schemer, a hoper, a trier, a maker, a doer, a gotta fly higher. This Yet finds a way even when you don't, and Yet knows you will when you think you won't. Let's see if we can find each of these child's Yets. Did you spot them? We're going to see the yets on every single page from now on, so you can see if you can spot them as we read the story. Let's think about what your magical yet might be like. If you'd like, you can imagine what they might look like. If you want to close your eyes, you could do that to think about it. Do you have that picture in your mind of what your magical yet might look like? I think they might be coming to say hello. Drum roll, please. Poof! There they are, sitting right on your shoulder. Imagine all the amazing things you two will try together. Let's keep going. Like that shiny new bike that you couldn't ride, hop right back on with the yet by your side. Yet doesn't mind warm-ups, fixes and flops, do-overs, redos, stumbles and stops. Can you spot the yet? Yet knows there's mistakes, some big and some small. With yet, you're sure to get over them all. Play the kazoo or play the bassoon. Jam with the yet and you'll soon be in tune. Let's take a look at this picture. What's happened? Looks like they might be trying to learn a musical instrument. Try skateboarding tricks like the ollie heel flip. This yet can get to the championship. Tongue twisters twisted, your tongue in a knot. Yet says, keep trying and practice a lot. What are you working on learning right now? Maybe you're learning to ride a bike or learning how to play a musical instrument like the children in this book. Or maybe you're learning to make something in the kitchen or play a new game or do a new dance move. Be patient, yet can't do it all overnight. Some things take days, months, or years to get right. Can you spot the yet on this page? But if you keep leaping, dreaming, wishing, waiting, learning, trying, missing, with the yet as your guide along the way, you'll do all the things you can't do today. Now you're bolder, braver, starting to see with yet you can get where you want to be. You finally did it, yet knew you could. You're not just writing, you're getting quite good. But don't stop now, you've got so much to do. The good news is this yet grows with you. So no matter how big or old you may get, you'll never outgrow, you'll never forget. You can always believe in the magic of yet. The end. I invite you to think about your favorite part of the story and talk about that with the people that you're with. We're going to travel to the museum now to look at some works of art. Let's imagine how we might get there. Since we're talking about the future today, let's imagine forms of transportation that might be available to us later. Are you going to take a flying car? Or are you going to take a high-speed train that'll get you there in no time? Or are you going to take a totally new form of transportation that hasn't even been invented yet? You decide. Once you've decided, if you'd like, you can close your eyes and imagine yourself going. Whew, that was an exciting new kind of journey today. I'm really glad that we made it. In order to get ready to look at our works of art, we're going to be doing an experience I'm calling our Mindfulness Minute. Mindfulness is taking the time to slow down and really pay attention to what you're doing. We're going to go on a guided experience to the future today. To begin, get into a comfortable position. If it feels comfortable to you, you can close your eyes. Now, let's begin by taking a deep breath in through our nose, out through our mouths. All right, let's get ready to go on our journey to the future. We're gonna have to hop in our time machine. So make sure you buckle your seatbelt. Click. And let's get ready to go in 3, 2, 1. Ooh! Oh, might be bumping in your seat a little bit. It's kind of a bumpy ride. Maybe you're swaying back and forth. I think we're almost there. Woo! We made it. All right, let's unbuckle and take a look around. What do you see in the future? Maybe you see a totally different kind of place than the world that you know. Maybe you see a dreamlike place, a place that maybe you've seen in your dreams before. Or maybe you see yourself in the future and you're older and you've learned a lot of new things and you've accomplished a lot of your goals because you've worked really hard and you've tried and tried again and again. What would you like to see in the future? Think about that. All right, let's take one last scan and look around at our future. It's very different. And let's hop back in our time machine. Get back in your seat. Buckle that seatbelt. Click. And let's get ready to go back to our present day in 3, 2, 1. Got that bumpy ride again. Whew. We made it back home. Thank you for dreaming and thinking about envisioning the future with me today. I feel much more ready to look at some really amazing works of art. We're going to look at some works of art from the museum's collection together. If you'd like, you can scroll down on the page to get a closer look at the images we'll be viewing. Feel free to pause the video at any time to do this. Take a close look at this work of art. What do you see? There's a lot to see in this painting. Let's play a round of I Spy to find all there is to see. See if you can find what I'm describing. I spy something that is long, yellow, and can sometimes be in the shape of a smile. I spy a banana. I spy something that is yellow and brown and has green leaves sticking out of the top like a tree. I spy a pineapple. I spy something that has eyes, a nose, and a mouth that is white. I spy a bust of a man's head. I spy something that moves fast and spews smoke and steam out of the top. I spy a train. Thanks for playing with me. This is a painting by an artist named Giorgio de Chirico. It's called The Transformed Dream. The artist was part of an artistic movement in Italy that explored different views of what we see. His paintings sometimes look like they come from dreams. Dreams inspired many artists. Imagine you were inside this painting in a dream. How would you feel? What would you explore further? Let's see how another artist created art using imaginary spaces. Look carefully at this work of art. What do you notice? Let's zoom in to get a closer look. What new details do you see now? This is a collage by an artist named Kay Sage. It's called A Shadow on the Sky. Why do you think the artist decided to give it that title, based on what we can see? If you could give this work of art your own title, what would you call it? This is a collage of painted paper. Kay Sage painted paper and then carefully cut out different shapes and attached them to the larger piece of paper you see here. She was a part of the Surrealist art movement that combined unusual objects and scenes together in works of art. Imagine you are the Surrealist artist. What unusual objects might you put together in a work of art? Think about getting inspired by the future or your dreams to come up with your own Surrealist scene. Now that we looked at some art together, let's travel back home so we can make our own art. So hop in your flying car, or get in that high-speed train, or dream up your new transportation invention, and let's head home. For our art making project today, we are going to be making our own collages of futuristic and dreamlike scenes. So we've seen how two different artists created scenes using unusual objects that can transport us to a different place. So we're going to use magazines and newspapers and mail and other things like that to help us find objects that we can cut and paste together to create a scene. So you can think about what your vision of the future might be like, or draw inspiration from a dream that you've had. So we're going to need a few different materials for this project. You're going to need a piece of paper to work on as your background. So I just have a black piece of paper here, but you can use any color, size, any kind of paper that you have at home is great. We're going to need pages from magazines or catalogs or mail or the newspaper. So I've got some catalogs that came in the mail. This is a grocery store ad, other things like that. Your treasure mail pile or your junk mail pile is a great place to find things like that that have pictures of stuff that you can cut out. So you'll need a bunch of things like that. I will also going to be using scissors, taper glue, and drawing materials. So I'm going to use colored pencils today, but you could use anything that you have at home, like markers, crayons, pens, pencils, anything will work. So to get started, really the fun part of this is deciding what objects you're going to use to create your kind of futuristic or dreamlike scene. So I found a few different objects already that I cut out. So this was like a interesting looking like plant, and I'm noticing that's really tall, so maybe I'll shift my paper vertically instead of horizontally. I thought these like plants were cool. I found some tiny little houses, and really you can just kind of think about combining unusual objects that you might not see together. So when I saw this page, I thought, whoa, I gotta have those pumpkins. I don't think I've ever seen pumpkins kind of like stacked on top of each other like that. And I actually found it on another page, and I might like this one better. And we're just gonna cut them out. And then once you kind of have a good collection of objects that you like, you can think about combining them together to create your scene. And then you can kind of use your drawing materials to help fill in any gaps that you might want to fill in, or add in elements that you can't find in your magazines, catalogs, or whatever it is that you're using to find all your materials. And remember that the best materials to use for this project are the ones that you already have at home. So don't worry about what you have. This is the perfect project to use up a lot of those things that we might get in the mail or that we might pick up on our day-to-day lives, and to use them to make art. It's a great place to look for art materials as your recycling bin. And so I love those stacked pumpkins. Those are kind of fun. I thought, if I have some food, maybe I might want some other food items. These apples are kind of interesting. And you might cut out things and end up not using them, but it's kind of nice to have a big collection of items, and then you can kind of decide, pick and choose what you'd like to use. That's a big part of being an artist, is making choices and deciding what it is you include and what you don't include, which is just as important as what you add as what you don't add. And you can think about getting inspired by your own dreams that you have, or your visions from the future. Maybe you got inspired by some of the artwork that we looked at today, to kind of think about combining unusual things together. Or maybe you're just going to see what your source material helps you find. So sometimes that's a good way to go too, is you can kind of think about what you find in your magazines and your mail and stuff that you're cutting things out, and that might help you figure out what your scene is going to be like. What else? Oh, I love this dog here and sitting in their bed. And you can pick out things that you like or things that you think are kind of interesting. And when you're cutting, sometimes you can make choices too. So like you could decide maybe to just cut the dog out and get rid of their bed. It's up to you. Your scissors can be another way to make choices, to decide what it is that what you add. So I have a good amount of objects here now, and now it's really just deciding how to put them together or what to include. So I have kind of some interesting like fruits and vegetables. I have an animal, I have some plants, I have some homes. So I'm kind of creating an interesting dreamlike futuristic scene, I think, because all these things are kind of different sizes maybe than what they would be like in real life. So I might actually cut this plant from its container here. See, there's a nice choice. You can decide later, because I think it's taking up too much of my page. And I kind of like the way that is on the side of the page there. And I love these pumpkins stacked up next to each other. So maybe I'll have these like giant pumpkins. Ooh, maybe like this is almost like a pumpkin tree. See, this is where you can get really creative, is kind of combining your different objects together and almost making up a scene as you go along. And you can kind of arrange and then glue all at the end, or you can glue as you go. And maybe I have a little house over here, down here. Oh yeah, and there's some giant pumpkins. And maybe this dog is kind of sitting on top of these apples here as a nice place to rest. Oh, and maybe some apples are falling from the sky. See, you can just kind of make up the scene as you go along, which is kind of fun. All right, I think I might be ready to start gluing now, and then maybe we'll see what happens. So now I kind of have some of my elements here glued on my page, and now you can kind of think about adding some drawing if you want to add some other elements that you might not have been able to include with your collage paper. So I have black paper here, so I'm going to use light colored pencils to draw on it so it will show up. And that's kind of a fun thing if you have dark paper, to kind of experiment with different colors that will show up on your dark paper. So I kind of like this tree, so I might kind of add some other leaves here. Make it kind of a more futuristic kind of plant. It's already pretty futuristic since the base of it is pumpkins. I don't know, have you ever seen a plant that looks like this before? I don't think I have. So I added some drawing, and now I think I'm finished with my scene. So what you can kind of do at the end is almost think about telling a story based on the futuristic or dreamlike scene that you created. Another fun thing you can do is to come up with a title. Kind of how we talked about titles when we were looking at works of art, is what you might call it. And that can be a way to kind of share a story about your work of art. So that's going to be our futuristic and dreamlike collages. Thank you for joining me today here at We Wednesday. We hope you had fun. I wanted to show you another example of a futuristic collage that I made. So this is the one that we made together. This is kind of my fruit and vegetable scene with, kind of crazy pumpkin trees and tiny houses and dogs that fly, I guess, made out of different magazine clippings and from catalogs and things like that. And then I made another one using white paper this time. And I also just looked around in the treasure mail that I had and kind of wanted to create a home scene with kind of this giant picture, and maybe the floors of the home are sand and the chairs are very tiny, and there's kind of some colorful hills in the background. So we would love to see your futuristic collages and dreamlike scenes and all the really amazing things that you're going to make. So please share them with us on social media. You can use the hashtag STLArtMuseum and We Wednesday. We hope to see you next time. Keep on creating. Bye.